Hi, welcome. It's time for Atomic Radio Hour, the post-nuclear podcast. Show the devs and the records to focus about little. Welcome to the episode. Welcome to the show, episode 338. How are you? You look great as usual. Quick, I'd like to give a shout out to the Ghoulman Entertainment Patreon. Link in the description below. Check it out. It helps the show keep afloat. Links where everything usually are. Thank you for being here. You look great. I've got quite the show planned for you this week. I do not have a ton of news to talk about that isn't real life news, but there is something that I wanted to speak about briefly just because I talked a little bit about it last week, and that is the Fallout on Prime series. Walton Goggins recently came out and pretty much said, if you thought Season 1 was good, just wait for Season 2. Now, Walton Goggins is one of the only people of the main three that have not played the game, at least a little bit, and he said that he wasn't going to play the game because he wanted to bring an air of acting into it that wasn't dependent upon him knowing about what the source material is, and that's fine. And the only thing that makes me worried about him saying that is does that mean that it's good because it's good, or it's good because it's Fallout good? And what I mean by that is, it's not like, you and I have an understanding of what we think is, I think Fallout good. Like, I feel like if you're a Fallout fan, you heard that and you understand what I'm saying by saying Fallout good. To me, at least, it means, like, does it do justice by the series that we love? Does it do justice by the universe that we take time out of our lives to go live in? Or is it good because it's good? And I feel like if it's good because it's good, then it'll just play with it being good because it's Fallout. At least that's what I'd like to think. I'm not sure if that's the way it would be or not, but that's what I'd like to think. And he's a good actor, man. Like, he's, the few things that I've seen him in, I really enjoy. So I can't sit here and be like, well, it's going to be shit, because it's not. Especially if it's someone like him who's saying, hey, this is great. I'm quite the fan of this. I believe him. I do. It's just something small that I wanted to bring up that I felt like it was necessary to talk about. In the third segment, I'm going to talk about this PlayStation event that happened today. But it's really the only Fallout-y thing that had come across my desk, if you will, from Kyle, who I get all of my news from. I'd like to get into this week's lore. Before I can get into this week's lore, I have to thank the Patreon. Because of the Patreon, the show continues to grow and get bigger and better. I have some plans. Like I always say, I have some plans. If I can find some time to sit down and research some things, I'll be able to get some things situated. And for me to do that, it's all thanks to the Patreon. So on screen, there should be some names. So let me stand on this side. There's some names that I have to thank. Starting from the top, I have to thank the OG Noah. Thank you, Noah. After Noah, I have to thank Willy DuWitt. Thank you to Willy DuWitt. After Willy DuWitt, I have to thank Mellow Milhouse. Thank you to Mellow Milhouse. After Mellow Milhouse, I have to thank Captain Lennox. Thank you to Captain Lennox. After Captain Lennox, I have to thank DanishHoundDog. Thank you to DanishHoundDog. And last but certainly not least, I have to thank Brotherhood Outcast. Thank you to Brotherhood Outcast. Like I said, the show continues to grow and get bigger and better because of the fine folks that I've named and who are currently on screen. I thank you very, very much for your continued support. Let's get on with this week's lore. So this week's lore, I wanted to go back to Fallout 4. I feel like it's been a minute since I've been back inside of Fallout 4, and I was just thinking about it, and I said, why not do it for this week? And I did one that I've always kind of been curious about, because I think I've only encountered it once in Fallout 4, and it was one of those that I kind of did it, and then it was over with, and then I was like, oh, okay. That was fun. And I wanted to talk about it a little more because I just, like I said, I've only done it the one time, and I wanted to figure out a little bit more about it, and I want to do it again. I'm excited. The footage behind me is probably from either right before or right after I actually did what it is so I could film and show it to you. It's about Pickman from Fallout 4. Not like Pickman, like, the Nintendo game, but like the fella. So if you'd like to hear any lore, and I mean any lore whatsoever from the Fallout franchise, go ahead and give a look-see at our Patreon, the Ghoulman Entertainment Patreon. From the $1 tier to the $10 tier, your voice is heard every single week when we ask a poll question, and your choice becomes part of what the next week's lore is. So by way of the Ghoulman Entertainment Patreon, I bring you this week's lore on Pickman from Fallout 4. Deep within Boston's North End is a killer. And I know what you're thinking. A killer in the Fallout wasteland? What are you, joking? Everyone's a killer. I know, but there's a guy who goes out and methodically kills people. He has a regiment. He's not just taking because he needs to eat and smoke cigarettes and drink water. He's taking because he wants to further his art. He's a killer who has a deep, profound hatred for raiders. Much like most artists, he's a bit of an eccentric, an eclectic fellow, if you will. He collects heads. I was trying to think of like a way to be witty about that and be like, he keeps people's heads and hearts and minds. But, you know, he just collects heads. You can actually ask him, why do they want you so badly? The Soul Survivor can say. And I get all of my lore at fallout.fandom.com, the Wikipedia, if you will. I love these games, but it's a quick reference whenever I do something like this. The Soul Survivor can say, why do they want you so badly, in reference to the Raiders? And Pickman will say, a small disagreement. They objected to my hobby of collecting their heads. There's a motif with all of Pickman's art. It's that it's red because it's with people's blood. There are 12 different paintings that you can see, and all of them are red, black, and yellow. One of my behind me has probably been a slideshow of these pieces of art. One of my favorite is painting 6. It looks like a fella with some wings. I'm also quite the fan of painting 7 and 8, 7 being a ghoul presumably with their brain exposed, and 8 being one of just eyeballs. Just all over. I've always liked eyeballs in paintings. I don't know why. I know it's kind of like a basic bitch type thing, but eyes I've always enjoyed. Painting 12 itself is also really fun. The arms clawing up at the eyeball. But like I said, he uses these people's blood and insides and what have you for his artwork, for what he feels like is his soul being bore out to the world at large so they can see who inside him is he. Now, there's a raider boss that you could run into. His name is Slab, that wants revenge on Pickman for killing all of his goons. Inside of the town of Goodneighbor, when you meet Hancock, one of the quests that he gives you is called Art Appreciation, and he says to you, he wants you to go check out the Pickman Gallery. Pickman's place, the place where he displays his art, where things are put on display, for what he's doing. He's taking these people. There's a bunch of things strewn about his place that you can find, like stashes of caps and other raiders and whatnot. Hancock will give you this quest. You go do this quest, and it's just to scope out, and then from there, things blow up. It really is just go check it out, come back to Hancock, and like tell him what happens. The only way you can really fail this quest is if Hancock dies. You will also have to grab a message for Jack holotape off of one of the raiders that's there. There's a couple of raiders outside of the Pickman Gallery, but once you go inside, in the gallery, there's a dead raider, and you can pull this holotape off of him. And the holotape is rather simple.
Seth, it's me. I found out what happened to the scouts who went missing up near the old art gallery. They're dead, Seth. I'm looking at a goddamn painting of Cal's body. Oh, God. What the hell did I do to him? Who the hell is there?
Admiring my collection. I'm afraid it's not complete yet. Soon, though.
Stay away from me, you psycho!
Yes, just like that. Hold that expression on your face.
Return the holotape to Hancock, and depending on what your speech skill is, your price will go up and or down. You can choose to help out Slab while you're there. You don't have to. When I did it, I think I just killed all the raiders because I was just killing all the raiders because they're raiders and you're supposed to kill raiders in Fallout 4. You can offer your help to him. There's a way that you can like cheat this other quest part of it that's just like go in there, kill everybody, talk to Pickman. He's like, thanks for your help. And this is what I think I did the first time I ever did this first encounter. I was like, hey, all those guys are dead. He's like, hey, thanks, here's a key. But you can join up with Pickman. You can join up with the raiders. Someone gets killed. Eventually you'll get inside of his safe, and you get a unique weapon. It's called Pickman's blade. Targets do bleed damage for 25 points of additional damage. It's not bad. It's decent early on. It's not something that I would want late game, but it exists. It's not Big Jim. But like I said, you go in, you kill all the raiders or whatever, or you kill Pickman. Either way, at the end, when you're given the key or loot the key off of Pickman, you get his blade. And also, if you kill all the raiders, you'll get the thank you note that he put in there to say thank you for killing all of the raiders that were trying to kill him from killing their men. And what's really fun is it's behind a painting that's entitled A Picnic for Stanley. If Pickman dies anytime before you get to open the safe, then his note will not be in there. But if you do what you gotta do, go to the safe, get the note, then you can kill him. You can also learn about the Pickman gallery and Pickman himself by looting dead raiders that are outside the vicinity, and you can kind of jumpstart the quest a little earlier than going to Hancock. I don't believe that I ever went to Hancock to start this quest. No matter how you end the quest by talking to Pickman, whether you're on good terms or bad terms with him, he still gives you the key. This is one of the hardest things to miss, unique weapons to miss in Fallout 4, in my personal opinion. And this one I want to read directly because I want to make sure I say this correctly. Pickman is a reference to H.P. Lovecraft's 1926 short story, Pickman's Model. Like Pickman in Fallout 4, Richard Upton Pickman is a Bostonian artist who creates graphic, horrifying artworks. I actually just tried to listen to a H.P. Lovecraft story at work today, and it did not grab me. I'm going to try again with something else. My problems with Pickman kind of echo from all my other problems with Fallout 4. I wish there was more. I wish there was a little bit more. I wish maybe there was a way that you could talk to someone who's like, yeah, I know that guy. He's a nut. Like just something where he's referenced somewhere else. I just wish there was a little more to him. Maybe the option to be a companion, even though the companions in Fallout 4 are just kind of buddies that you hang around with that go on like one little quest with. I wish that there was a tiny, tiny, tiny bit more to him. He's fun, especially on your first playthrough, if you remember it, when you go through and you're like, oh yeah, here's that guy. Let me go do the thing that the guy needs me to do, and then you do it. But I hope you've enjoyed that, because that has been this week's lore. Hi everyone, welcome to segment 3. I want to talk a little bit about this PlayStation event. I don't think anything was shown that I care about. And I had this conversation at work with someone I work with, and it was just like, you know, maybe I don't know if we're in a drought or if things are really as bad as they seem when it comes to games. And I don't really know how to feel about it, because I know Kyle will enjoy most games, because Kyle just enjoys gaming as a medium more than I do at this point. They showed off a little bit of Borderlands 4, but it really wasn't much, and they said sometime in the spring they're going to show off more. Borderlands 3, and there's documented proof of this, is one of those games that, Borderlands 3 I'm talking of, is one of those games that kind of like rejuvenated my love of games. And lately I've been trying to play the Arkham games, and that's really bringing it back. Like I didn't like Arkham Knight when it first came out, and right now I'm playing Arkham Knight, and I'm really having a good time. Like having a good time with the Batmobile, which I don't remember having when I played it the first. I remember the first time playing just being like, I need to get to the end of this now. But I'm having a wonderful time with Arkham Knight currently. And, you know, my love for games is still there, and it comes back. But it's like, I'm watching it, and it's all like these Japanese RPGs or these like Japanese heavy games, and I can't do anime. I just can't do manga stuff. I don't look down on it. I just can't do it. There's something about, I think it's the voice acting, honestly. The way they'll ask a question, answer their own question, and ask another question, and just the, like the weird gasps, and just, I don't understand why everyone gets a boner and a nosebleed at the same time. And maybe that's a cultural thing, but it's just, I don't know, I could never do it. And I know that I'm probably missing out on some great stories, and I always liked One Piece, but I'm not going to watch 1,100 episodes. We were talking about this at work recently. I think it's like 1122. That's a lot. It's like, oh, we'll just, you know, watch these arcs, and these are the only arcs that I have to watch all of it. I know who I am as a person. I started reading comic books at the end of last year, and I started with like Batman 154 or 153, and part of me was like, how hard is it to get the last 150 something odd issues? because I know who I am. Like, I want to read everything. Like, I want to be a part of something from start to end. But I'm watching this, or I should say I was listening to it more than anything, and like I was watching the IGN one, and it started with just Elden Ring, which is a game and a type of game that I've never had any interest in. Just the idea of like, oh, the game's only good if you get good isn't fun to me. Like I might have an hour to sit down and play a game for Monday through Friday. And then if I'm lucky, I might have 3 to 4 hours the entire weekend to play a game. I don't have time for Elden Ring or Dark Souls. I just don't. And like, it's not that I think they're bad games, but I just don't think a game where it's like, get good at it is fun. I just don't think that's fun. It's not like Tetris, where Tetris anybody could pick up and put down, and if you're really good, you can get really into it, where it's like Dark Souls, like, we'll just go kill these things real quick and then level up and then put it's just, I don't have the time for it. I don't. And, there was like Metal Gear, which Metal Gear is a series that like I just don't want to get into because it just seems like it's so long. And that's another one where I bet it's great, but I have to know everything. Like I really want to play Death Stranding because everyone suckles at the teat that is Kojima, and Death Stranding seems weird enough that I could get into it, but I don't have the 20 hours to go, oh, this is good now. Because that's what I've heard is like you have to play and I could be wrong. This is what I've been told. You have to play Death Stranding for 20 hours and then you'll be like, oh, this is good now. And that kind of sounds like sunken cost fallacy to me, but who knows? But that was it. Like I couldn't think of anything else from it. And I was like, we are in that much of a drought. I also can't imagine studios like Borderlands are like, oh, we're coming out. I think it was like September 22nd or September 25th or September 28th. It's somewhere around there. And I can only imagine that every other studio is going, if GTA 6 is coming out this year, then we're not dropping this year. We'll either drop in the beginning of the year or we'll wait till next year because no one's going to buy it because of GTA 6. And like GTA 6 is probably, I feel like for a lot of people, GTA 6 is going to be the last physical game they buy. It's probably going to be the last game ever with a map in it. It's probably going to be the last game ever with a manual in it. It's probably going to be a $100 game. And if GTA 6 is a $100 game, I'm not buying it. Like just flat out, I'm not going to buy it because every other studio is going to make their game $100. And that means indie games that were $20, $30 are now $60. And I don't have the money or the time for it. Back in the day, I used to say all the time, for a game to be worth the money, I need $1 an hour. So I needed a 60-hour experience. And I was playing a lot of open world stuff. And I was playing a lot of stuff online with my friends. And now games are too long. Like Red Dead 2 is a game that I constantly want to go back to. And I've been thinking about picking up a cheap used copy so I could play it on next gen. And it's just like, I don't have 70, 80 hours to play that game. I beat that game in a weekend because I didn't do anything but the story. And I pretty much played from when I woke up to when I went to bed, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I beat it in, probably 40 hours. It was probably a little longer because I remember working and then the weekend came around. So I probably like played it, then went to work and then beat it on another weekend. So I don't even know how many hours are on my original save, but that was one of those that it was like, as soon as I was in, I was out. And as much as I love The Last of Us 2, it's too long. Like I'll be the first person to admit that it's too long. I don't want to spoil, the game's kind of old. I don't want to spoil anything, but you don't play as Ellie long enough. When you play as the other character, you play a little too long as that character. And I'm the first person to admit that. But it's one of those where it's like, I've been meaning to go back and replay those games, and I don't want to, because I know how long The Last of Us 2 is going to be. The Last of Us 1, if you put it on like the easiest mode, you can get through it in probably 8 to 12 hours. Like it's like the same thing as if you were to watch the show. But I'm watching the PlayStation event, and it just felt like a huge drought. It just felt like there was nothing coming out. It felt like there was just, I felt like the old man shouting at clouds. To be honest, felt like I was just like, this isn't for me anymore, which I know isn't true because, when you become an adult, fun doesn't stop. You should play D&D and you should go LARP and you should play video games and board games and you should play cards and you should meet up with your friends. And honestly, I don't think as adults we play pretend enough. I got all these toys and I don't ever play with them. And like, maybe there's a part of me that'll like retch at the idea of an adult playing with toys. And maybe there's another part of me that just needs like his inner child to play with a toy. Just have Batman and Spider-Man be like, we're not from the same comic book series, but we're friends. You know, there's like that. There's a Simpsons joke where Stan Lee's on it, and he's like, why don't you put your Incredible Hulk figure inside of the Batmobile? And he's like jamming it in there and breaking it. Like, you know, it's a Simpsons joke. It's a cutaway. Like, it's not, it doesn't further that plot. But like, you know, I think about that sometimes. I think about like all the toys and figures I have on my shelf that just sit there to collect dust. And I'm like, you know, a kid could be playing with these. I could be playing with these. Let me know what you think. Do you think I'm just old? Do you think you're getting old? I don't feel old. I still feel like an 11-year-old little boy. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. This has been Atomic Radio Hour, the post-nuclear podcast. I've been your host, Vince. This is episode 338. Thank you again to the Patreon link in the description below to the Patreon. Check out the other links that are down there, like the Redbubble, where you can get a design that has been created, inspired by the show. There's also the Redbubble, which I think I just said. I'm very tired. I have not been sleeping well. Check out all the links. Discord, I love you. Thank you for being here. I will see you next week. Be safe. Tip your waitress. I love you. Bye.
Atomic Radio Hour Podcast.
A Ghoulman Entertainment production.